Hello everyone, my name is Rajesh Kumar and I'm your DevOps SRE DevSecOps coach. I have close to 18 plus years of experience working in multiple MNCs around the globe and having in-depth knowledge of DevOps, SRE and DevSecOps. So I would like to introduce you one certification program in a DevOps, and that is we call it DevOps Certified Professional. Now this is a 2 months of program, 25 tools of DevOps you will learn, and apart from that you will also get the access to the LMS, lifetime access to the videos portal. It's a certification program, and you will have 25 assignments and 2 projects along with it. It's a completely weekend program, so here you have classes on Saturday and Sunday. So as part of this course, you will learn multiple things. Here you see that you will learn Linux, AWS, Docker, Jira, Confluence, Python, Git with GitHub, SonarQube, Maven, Gradle, Packer, Artifactory, Selenium, JMeter, Ansible, Kubernetes, Helm, Terraform, Jenkins, Datadog, Splunk, and Neuralink. Now, how do we, apply for this? So how can you reach out to us? So you have a WhatsApp number and email ID. So please reach out to us, and we'll help you to onboard this program. Apart from this DevOps certified professional programs, we are offering other certifications as well in a DevSecOps, SRE, and one of the very comprehensive programs which we have is in Master in DevOps Engineering. Yeah, so feel free to get in touch with us and then enroll for it. Thank you. Okay, so today we are going to focus on Linux part. So what we are going to learn today? So we are going to learn first thing, what is Linux. Second thing, we are going to learn setting up VM, Linux VM, okay, using using Vagrant also, and then setting up the VM using VirtualBox. Now, VirtualBox. We are going to also learn shell scripting. So learn shell scripting. So these are the things we are going to do that. Then here in Linux, we are going to learn user commands, and and here then we are going to learn admin command. So these are the things which we'll get started. Now, why we are doing this one? I think some of you already know that Linux and all, you might have been working, but for some of you, it might be new, or maybe um, some push is required for this. So without Linux, we cannot learn a DevOps. We cannot practice DevOps, and you need to have a Linux experience. So Linux is very vast actually. So I'll cover in a way you can get started and practice, and then if you have any issues, I'll help you with it. So let's get started. So first of all, what is Linux? So I need some help from slides. Okay, so this slide is pretty huge, so I'll not be able to cover all of it because not required, but we know that more or less. So here, primarily Linux, the one which you see, is the operating system, right? Now, operating system, we have Windows also, Linux also. So there are two primarily, operating system you see, and Linux you see multiple variant. Windows also you see multiple variant like a 2012, 16, 19 and all. Linux also you see multiple variant like Ubuntu, Fedora, Debian, SUSE, Amazon, and many more. So in every operating system, you will find one most important thing, which is kernel. In Windows also you'll find a kernel, Linux also you'll find a kernel. Now, what is a kernel? So kernel, just simply, if you put it up, it's a program, computer program written in C. I'm talking about the Linux kernel, right? So that is something which is the code. Now here, if you look at this, Linux basically helps you to interact between the hardware, you means human, with hardware. So when we look at the hardware, we have a CPU, RAM, disk and devices like a keyboard, mouse, and all, printer and all. So that's the hardware. And we want to send some instruction to that, some instruction. So they should perform that instruction and then get you the things done. So that instructions you send in the human language, and kernel convert that into the binary language, because mm, uh, that disk and hardware only understand the binary language. So kernel converts into the binary language and then give it to you back to the in a human form. So kernel is very important. Without that, you cannot communicate with it. So where kernel program runs? So it is a portion of operating system code that always resident in the memory and facilitates interaction between hardware and software. So they run in some special locations in the memory itself. When kernel program runs, that is important. So the kernel is one of the first program loaded on startup after the bootloader. So when you know, let's say, start your laptop, so the first thing which get loaded is your bootloader, and then after the bootloader, the first program which get loaded in the memory is kernel. Okay, so that is something which we have it. Now we do have a multiple types of kernel in Linux. No need to get lost in it. In fact, your mobile which you are using is built on kernel, right? Android device built on very lightweight kernel, Linux kernel. That's also Linux. Your mobile is also Linux. Okay, so these different types of kernels are there: microkernels, monolithic, hybrid, nano, exo, and all. Okay, so what are the primary role of kernel? So we understood at the high level, but if you look at this, they manage your tasks. So task management is done by kernel. Input and output is done by device. Input output is done by kernel. Interrupt and event handling is done by kernel. Timer management, memory management, and sync and communication. So all these things is being done by kernel. Okay. So any idea who's this guy? All of you? Any idea?
I think Linux name came from this guy name. I forgot
Yeah,
the name
Linus
of the author.
Torvald.
Yeah, he's the one. He's the father of Linux. In fact, next week I'll teach you Git. So Git also, he's the father of Git also, Linus Torvald. So he's the
It's
person.
right.
Yeah. Okay. So so the Linux kernel is free and open source. It's a monolithic. The architecture is monolithic. Monolithic means um, it's all the features whatever you have in the kernel. It's not distributed. It's in one place, and the program is modular, multitasking available. Unix like operating system kernel. It was originally authored in 1991 by Linus Torvalds for his i86 based PC. And Linux is developed on a wide variety of computing, such as embedded devices, mobile devices like Android, personal computer, and servers, and many more. Okay, so now if you remember that we discussed about the Linux kernel is coded, uh, uh, Linux kernel code get loaded just after the bootloader. So what is a bootloader? So a bootloader are also spelled as a bootloader or boot manager and bootstrap loader also. is a computer program that is responsible for booting your computer. So this is reside also in the your hardware, and that will help you to boot the system. Okay, so I'll not get into that how bootloader works, but remember that bootloader is the first one, and then followed by kernel coding. That is how it's. So look at this here. This is the flow you should remember. When you do the power on, your ROM code, have some booting devices that get loaded through the bootloader, and then after the kernel, and then after the rest of the software which you have in operating system. So this is the workflow. Okay, so when you power on, load bootloader in ROM, load kernel in a RAM. ROM means random access memory. RAM means random. Oh, sorry, ROM means a random. Uh, see, I forgot.
Read only memory.
Only memory. Read
Yeah,
only.
yeah, read only
Only memory. Read only memory.
memory.
And the RAM means random access memory. So this is what it happens. This I'll just skip it because too much of detailing is there. Yeah. So more or less at a high level, you understand that Linux and then kernel. Now, why it is important? Because most of the broad-based company, if you go, they will have only two topics to ask. They will not ask you Jenkins, Git, Docker, Kubernetes. They will not ask you. They will ask you Linux, internal, and another one they'll ask you one programming language to write some program. So that way, this topic is very important. But if you go for other service-based companies and second tier of broad-based companies, then they will ask you all the tools which I'm going to teach you, like a Git, this one, Docker, Kubernetes, Jenkins, tooling part, Jira, Nexus, and all. Okay, so in the kernel, I mean the Linux operating system, you will find a two space. Okay, one is called kernel space, and another one is user space. Okay, so user space means the when you log into your laptop, the environment which get created around you, it's called user space. Same way kernel to run, they create your own space also. So user space and kernel space, a computer OS usually segregates virtual memory into user space and kernel space. So what is this what they are trying to segregate? Virtual memory into user space and kernel space. Okay, so the kernel perform its tasks such as running processes, managing hardware devices such as hard disk, and handling interrupts in this protected kernel space. So anything related to running the kernel, all these responsible features of kernel which I said, performance or what are the operations of kernel, is performed in the kernel space. In contrast, the application programs such as browser, word processors, audio or video player, whatever you do actually as a developer or engineer, separate area of memory that's called user space. So that's divide of virtual space. Okay, so the kernel, okay, this is something, yeah. So primary, this serves separation serves the provide memory protection and hardware protection from the malicious and irritant software behavior. So what happens because we have a two space, one space the kernel is running with a virtual memory, and another space you are running lots of applications, and this is isolated and separate. If it is not a separate, then you know what will happen. You may run some programs which may interrupt the kernel, and the kernel will interrupt, then system will get unstable or compromised. So that way, whatever you run in the kernel user namespace is not impacting the kernel. So that way, your operating system is stable. Okay. So you see that here, kernel space and user space. Okay. See here. So how they communicate kernel space and user space. So everything happening you are doing in operating system, you are doing in user space. Okay, so all the processes you might have seen that a lot of process in Linux. There is a one command which is called ps or top, and in Windows, if you go to the task manager, you'll see all the processes which you're running. So the all the processes which you're running in the user space, to get the output, it will call the kernel space. So kernel space manage your input output devices and all. So it will call to kernel space. Now there's a very one important question, very frequently asked in the interview: how this your process talk to the kernel process? I mean, how do you communicate? So this is called system call. Okay, so that's the answer for it. So user process talk to the kernel process, kernel space, user space talk to the kernel space through the system call. Okay, so here you see that in detail. uh, Get PID, then all this process, and open PID and all kind of things. So this is something which happens. So look at this here. uh, your programs will run in the user space, kernel is running in the Linux kernel space, and then hardware. So this is the whole architecture which you can visualize at a high level. More explanation has been given. This is also one more visualization. This is the more detail. This is the from wiki actually. Okay, so understood. So all of you at a high level, any questions, any doubts?
Yeah, Rajesh. So in Linux, basically kernel, right? It is an intermediator between hardware and the user or applications.
Hmm,
So I think similar
right.
in Windows as well, right? There is a command.com or we can say interpreter. So I think similar concept is there, I think. And only file system is different,
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah. Similar concept is there in the Windows also. So that's the programs are differ, but conceptually both are same almost. I mean, many places they are same, but some places they have kept a different architecture.
Okay, fine.
Okay, so Linux architecture. This is something which you know that we have might have studied. We have a hardware on top of kernel, top of shell. You have bash shell we are using in this training, and then you have a commands like, so this command which what you need to know, I'll show you the place to practice it. Many of the commands I'll explain it also. So basically you have a commands, then commands talk to shell. Shell means bash shell we are using. Shell talk to the kernel, and kernel talk to hardware. Okay, so this is something which we have. System call, remember that, that is important. Many people, and this question they can ask in many ways. Okay, so always system call. Okay, so now I'll just ignore it. Lots of discussion because this is not needed for this session. Yeah. Okay, so now all of you understand the Linux at a high level. So these are the components of kernel actually. Okay. So here we have process scheduling capability, IPC, memory management, virtual files, SC Linux, device mapper, and all. So process and thread is a very important topic. This is also they will ask you in the interview. So what is process and what is thread? That is important. So if you look at this here, one process, you have a multiple thread in this image. If you look at this here, there is a process, one process talking to another process through the CPU, and for the CPU, and then each process you have a thread also. Okay, so What is process? So process is a computer program under executions. If you want to see how many computer program which is under running, you can see the process table, ps command. You can use it for looking at it. I'll show you that. So Linux is running many processes at any given time. We can monitor them on terminal using the ps command or on the system monitor UI. Linux processes are isolated and do not interrupt each other executions. Okay, so every process which get created, kernel assign the PID. Okay, mind it, PID, process ID. Okay, so we can, let me show you also while talking. So here I'm showing you of Windows, but Linux will be the same. So go to detailing. Where is the detailing? Hmm. This is the detail format. And if you look at this, how many process running in my system. So look at this, 27,000. So I mean, it's not right now all 27,000s are running. Some of the process has run and exited, but the new processes which is running, it will always be incremental. Okay, so that way it's 27,000 processes. Okay, so this is something, and you see that which is the first process. So first process is 0. Okay, then after that one might have come and got disappear, then 2 and 3 and 4. So which is running your system? This is running your system. 4, first process. I mean 0 is a one which is initiate everything. Okay, but this process, first process, in Linux is a PID1, in Windows is a PID4. You see that here, system, uh, username, and NT kernel and system. Are you able to see my screen, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So if you kill this process somehow, your system will shut down actually. So this is running your system. Again, I'm repeating, in Linux we have a PID1. Okay, rest of the process is after that process. So you have process and then multiple thread. Okay, so that is what I'm going to talk about. So with the PID, we can identify any process in Linux. Internally, the kernel uniquely allocates this number of release it for reuse after the process exits. Since many processes are running at a given time in Linux, they have to share the CPU. The process of switching between the two executing process on the CPU is called process context switching. Okay, so this happen very fast. So between the CPU, one process to another process, another process, whichever you want to prioritize, you can. System will decide the switching context. You can prioritize actually. So process context switching is expensive because the kernel has to save older register and load current register. Expensive means it takes some time, and then also load the data which is called register in the memory or disk. It is expensive that way. So this is something. So now you might have seen one process create a multiple thread. So what is a thread? So thread is a lightweight process. Simple way. Process can do more than one unit of work concurrently. A process can do more than one unit of work concurrently by creating one or more thread. Okay, this thread is being lightweight, can be spawned quickly. That's the reason you might have seen the PID is 27,000 plus. So let's see an example and identify the process and its thread in this command. So if you look at this ps-elf is a Linux command. Okay, I was showing in the Windows details way. So you will understand this, which is a PID and their thread inside it, a number of threads for a given process. So this 3 column, you will see that. So remember the ELF, that's a combination for it. Okay, so look at this is a screenshot. PSELF is the PID. I told you in Linux you start with PID1, okay, and then PPID and LWF and LWF. That's will tell you. So how many number of thread each processes you have, and how many what are the thread you have, you will get it to know here. So here, look at this my cursor, the process ID 701, LWP 709, 4 thread you have here. So that way you can experience this, how many thread you have it, to get it running this one. Okay, so single threaded process, any thread created within the process share the same memory and resources of the process. This is the interview question they'll ask you. So let's say there's one thread, so one process, okay, one process, one thread. So how this memory is being shared? So here, thread will share the same memory and resources of the process. In a single threaded process, the process and thread are the same. That's the reason, as there are only one thread happening. That's the reason the PID was same here. Look at this. This is the single thread process. Okay, multi-thread process. In the process has more than one thread, such as process accomplishes multiple tasks simultaneously or almost at the same time. Okay, in this share thread the same address space of the process. Okay, then therefore spawning a new thread within the process become cheap. Okay, so that way it has been used. Look at this here, single thread and multiple thread. So if you see that here, single process and one thread, and whatever the code, data, files and register and stick assigned to process, you get assigned to thread. But here different different uh, processes, one process, multiple 3 thread, and you have a different code, registers and stakes in this way. Okay, uh, this is the process. So last time we talked about the process and thread. This time the process. So here we have this is a system call process, you can say. The Linux has system called defined for the basic OS function like file management, network management, process management, and other. Any valid Linux program uses these system calls. So these are the system calls, hence for the ease of application development. So we use fork or clone or execute system calls for creating a process. Again, this is an interview question. If someone asks you, which system calls create a process? So system calls which is being fork and exec system calls creating a process. Okay, and that is just too important. Just remember that. This is not important right now. I'll just ignore it, and so on. These are the features of it. Yeah. Okay. So now, at a high level, you understood what is Linux. All of you, any questions on it?
Yeah, Rajesh. So, Rajesh, if we talk about the process, so is there any limit defined in the kernel, or it will run unless and until memory is, available or
Uh,
free? Let's say. Yeah.
there's no limit I have seen across. So as long as the memory and CPU is available, this process will keep spawning and creating. But again, one more thing, uh, the previous process will complete the work and then clean that table. So that way, the numbers of PID is getting changed, but the number of uh, process you will have in the table only which is active. So that way. So you might,
Okay.
in my case, 27,000 processes was showing, but in reality only 400 process will be there. Remaining process has created and run and then exited also.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And
So,
if we rerun the, sorry, go on.
go ahead, go ahead.
No worries. So Rajesh, if we let's say if you open the file, say, or we are going to do the same task, so process ID will be changed every time, right?
Yeah, yeah, process ID
Oh,
will always change.
fine.
Okay, so now I'm going to set up a virtual box. So now the question is, what is a VM? What is VM? Uh, so I'll put it in a very simple way. Um, I think some of you might have experience already. So when I look at this here system, so first we have a hardware, okay, and then on top of that we load kernel. Just now we discussed at a high level kernel. And kernel we have a lots of features actually, lots of features. And on top of the kernel we have some user app, system utility also you can say this. So, so this together we call it OS. Okay, you can call tools. Then you'll say what is the tools you're talking about. So browser is one tool, calculator is another one. And the commands like a top, ls, c, uh, ls, cat, more, uh, vi. These all are tools actually. And then we access it. So this is the, we call it most of the time OS. So OS has the two things, kernel and then tools. Okay. So now what happens? We have a hardware. So here in a hardware, you have a different types of hardware, like a storage, like a RAM, like a CPU, like a CPU, RAM, storage, and then what else? So these are the hardware. Now what happens? This hardware need to be available. So for that, let's say storage. How can you use the storage? In Windows, how do you use the storage? Anyone have idea? Storage in Windows, how do you use the storage?
The hard disk.
Hard disk is a real hardware, no? That's what I say. Hard disk is a hardware. So we use in the C drive, correct now? C drive, D drive, correct?
Yeah.
So that we call it a root file system. Remember that I'm using some of the very specific name, a root file system. The file system starting from the root. So here, this root file system, C drive, E drive, or in Linux, we have a etc, opt, mnt, user home, something like that. So this is called root file system. So what happens? Kernel instantiate one root file system here, let's say, and what we call it, mount. Please remember that always. What we call it, a root file system, the which is get mounted, we call it mount. Will you remember that, all of you?
It is required to keep the storage in the mounted form. Yeah, you can keep in the normal also. Mounting means you have the some path you are keeping that to the doing some process and doing the mount for that file
No,
storage.
so C drive is a path only, right?
Yeah.
C drive Rajesh Kumar,
Yes.
C colon
Yeah.
Rajesh Kumar, or in Linux
Yes.
opt
Yes.
Rajesh Kumar. It's a path only, right? So that's we
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
to
Path.
mount
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
So
In
this mount is
Linux.
happening. Yeah, Linux
Okay.
Windows also. So mount get created, and then what else we get it? So after that mounting, we get a process table here running. Process table, the one which I showed you, PH table. This one in Linux also you can see that. One thing's extra you can see is networking. So network is being laid out here. So one thing, networking. Network, you can see if config and all kind of things. So network. So these are the resources of the system. So you got one network, one mount table, one PID table. PID table means starting with a 0 to this one PID table. Always remember that this is a one PID table. You have in a PID table you have so many PIDs, but it's a one PID table. So this is get created. Mount get one root file system. You get it. One root file system in how many C drive you see in one compute unit? How many C drive?
Uh, one. So basically,
One.
can we call it out as a volume or partition basically?
No, never. We should call
Oh,
root file system. So that's the reason I'm saying we should call root file system. Let me show you here. Root file system. Because when you call the volume, that's a different. Sorry.
yeah, because in Linux, basically, if you want to create any partition, let's say if you want to access the CD drive, then we are using the mount and all that, something like that. I'm talking about drive later.
Yeah. Yeah. My default browser is Google Chrome. So why is taking Yahoo? Huh, this is not good. So here a root file system, and here see. Have you seen this?
Okay.
Correct now? So it's starting with root, then bin, etc, sbin. This is a Linux one. Okay. Yeah. So I was drawing some pictures. Always remember this. Okay. So you have hardware, kernel, then what was that here? Tools, system tools. This is called operating system. Then you have mount, then process table, networking. Are you understanding all of you so far?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So coming, this all coming with kernel space. Okay. I mean, sorry, not this one. Whole things. This is all coming with kernel space. Now you will have a user created. So I'll create a user here. 1, 2, 3. I should create a little smaller. Yeah. So this is Rajesh. This is Rakesh. This is Jamie. Okay. So this is one user, two user, three users. When you log in, still you are able to access this network, this mount, this shared one, right? And this process table and more. Same thing with this, same thing with this, same thing with this. So all users are separate space running in the separate space, and here this all utility is being utilized by the all users. So that's the reason. Now let's say if you run Apache, Rajesh runs Apache. So Rajesh is running Apache. So this user will not be able to run. Rakesh will not be able to run Apache. Any idea why? Any idea
It's a
why?
kind of different partition or network it consider as a,
Uh,
or because of privilege we are talking about.
Simple. Rajesh is running Apache software, but Rakesh cannot run Apache software. Why? Anyone else? He
Privilege.
can he can run Tomcat, but cannot run Apache.
Because we have the only one process table for all user. So
Correct.
in one process table, only one instances will be get created for the, I think so.
So here what is happening? To run Apache, first thing you need port number 80, correct now?
Yeah.
So here there is only one network. So 80 port, this guy you have utilized, gone. Now this is not available because only one network available, no? So the port is not available for other user. So you can change the port number, then you can run it, but same port you cannot use it. Now Rajesh has run Apache on C Apache, let's say. Now this Rakesh and Jamie cannot use the same path. Data will be problem. Data will have a problem. I think someone is Sanjay from your some background noise is coming, I guess. Yeah. So C and Apache, let's say Rajesh has used. So now Rakesh and Jamie cannot use the same path. Data will be compromised. And let's say Rajesh is running the Apache at the 50 PID. Rakesh cannot use it. It has to be different, 51 or 52. So like that. So here the problem is isolation is not possible. And that means if you want to run 3 Apache, it's not possible. Are you understanding, all of you?
Yeah.
So how many of you have understood? Can you please confirm in the chat window? I just want to count it.
Rajesh, sorry, on the same pot we are talking about, right? But the other user want to use
Same.
the 8080 or something like that. He or she can do
Huh,
that.
then but Apache run on 80 port.
Okay.
They can change their port. Suppose that they want to change the new port number in the Apache, also they can run in the different port.
Okay,
Configuration,
so
that config file is there. In that, if I can change the 88 for the run the Apache, that time it is possible.
yeah, very good thought about it. But I'll give you one scenario. What about if you're running in a data center and you need to run 50,000 Apache? So are you going to change IP address for 50,000 machines?
No, it is
Then
not a
yeah.
good thing.
So correct. So all of you understood, right? Okay, the chat is not allowed. Why? Not sure what is set up with this meeting.
It is allowed. Able to,
Allowed? I cannot see
yeah.
the chats from anywhere. Okay, now I understood. Yeah. Okay, so only two people have said. Okay, so now understood the problem. So all of you, I'm assuming that you have understood the problem. So this is the problem. We cannot run multiple Apache. One thing I want you to focus on it. Apache is running inside a user space. Correct? Now this is a user space. This is a user space. Okay, so we'll discuss this topic in Docker also. Very important topic. Okay. Okay, come to the point. So what is a VM in this case? So VM is doing nothing but creating isolation. Okay. So again, look at this here. So this is the hardware, and then this is the kernel. Okay. And now this kernel create a mount. I'm creating at a high level mount and then network. Okay. And then pit. I hope you are getting this image. I'm putting in a very odd way. Pit table. Correct now? Mount network pit. Correct?
Yeah.
All of you? So now this all this thing environment, if you see, it come from the image, that operating system image. Okay, good. So now because in the last image I was not able to run multiple Apache, so I will change the architecture. So what architecture you are talking about? If you look at this part, except the hardware, everything can be created through the kernel. Okay, this all resources created through kernel. Okay, and kernel talk to hardware. Okay, through system call. How this kernel talk to the hardware through system call, correct now? So here, can I do something like that? Just suggest me. Can I create one extra, this one, this part. Okay, so here I will have 1, then 2, then 3, and then think inside that, please focus on it. This, what we call it, I don't know, but here we'll have a kernel again. Think about it. Here we'll have a kernel. Here you have a kernel. Okay, and kernel will get me MNT network PID. So MNT network PID. Agree with me, all of you? This kernel will power this. This kernel will power this. This kernel will power this. Are you agreeing with me?
Yeah. So all are subset of main kernel, we can say.
No, that I'm not discussing right now. But
Okay.
kernel will give me this. Somehow it will run. I don't know. Somehow it will run. So there's a one kernel, one kernel, one kernel. Now in this case, I will have one user. You can create many users. See why I'm saying. See, application required users. Look at this username table. Username, this one, this column. Do you see anywhere is empty? No. To run any application, you require users. So here, user one, this kernel will create only user, this kernel will create user, and this kernel will run now Apache, this user, Apache, Apache. So tell me, in this fashion, I can run 3 Apache on 80 port, 3 Apache on PID 50, 3 Apache using C Apache or OPT Apache. Can I run it? What do you think, all of you? All of you?
Okay. Yeah, Rajesh, but it will consume our main resource, right? So whatever we have it,
That's
hardware level.
that's there. But I can
Okay.
run the 3 Apache, no? Because
Yeah.
this Apache will require this network 80 port, this Apache this network, this Apache this network. This Apache will use this mount, this Apache will use this mount, and PID, PID, PID. So 3 Apache I can run, right?
Yeah.
So now the question is, how can we create this environment? How can we create a 3 servers, 3 kernels installed at the base machine? So that is where we need one special kind of software. This is called hypervisor. What we call it? Hypervisor. Please remember that. So anyone have idea what are the list of hypervisor which you are using?
Hypervisor, then Zen, I think Zen as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So
EC, something
hypervisor
like
mean,
that.
yeah, you know
Sorry.
hypervisor. Hypervisor like a VMware is one hypervisor, lightweight. VMware, VirtualBox, Zen, KVM. So many hypervisors are there. So hypervisor, what they basically do, hypervisor directly talk to the base machine kernel, which is here, and they manage this VM. This we call it a VM1, VM1, VM2, VM3. So virtual machine we call it. So they manage this hypervisor manage this VM, and inside the VM, each VM you have a kernel, and each VM you have a mount separate one network user this one paid table, and then one user, and then running application. So what has happened in a data center, we were not able to run Apache. Let's say you want to run 50,000 Apache. So for that you require the physical hardware, correct? So in one machine, in one physical devices, we were not able to run multiple Apache. So there were lots of cost. There were lots of wastage of cost. Cost means lots of CPU were getting wasted, RAM were getting wasted, storage were getting wasted. Okay. So what the architecture did, they said, okay, let's develop a hypervisor. which will run this virtual server independently with the help of kernel, and whatever the hardware required, we will take it up. So if you need, let's say 50 VM, you can create only 50, and rest of the resources you can give it to someone else to use it. So that way the virtual server, this is called virtual server, and this is called hypervisor. Understood at a high level, all of you?
Yeah.
All of you understood? Hello?
Yeah, Rajesh.
Yes.
Okay. So now this is called virtual machine. Okay. So now if you look at this, you go anywhere. Can you create a virtual machine? Yes. Can you buy a virtual machine created by someone else? Yes. On cloud? Yes. So if you want to create a virtual machine your own, so you have to use hypervisor. Okay. And this hypervisor we are using in this training is VirtualBox from the Oracle, free, open source, available for you. If you can use VMware also, very popular one, and so on. So you need a hypervisor. AWS is also running VM through some hypervisor. Azure is also running VM through some hypervisor. Google Cloud also running hypervisor and availing the VM through UI and all. So whether you do at the small level or large level is up to you. But the question is, why do we need it? For us, why do we need it? For data center, we understood that why they need it. They want to run multiple isolated Apache, thousands of Tomcat, thousands of MySQL, like that. But we will use VM for learning purpose of Linux. So I'm not asking you to install the Linux operating system in the base machine itself, but I'm asking you to install the Linux operating system inside a VM. So for VM, you need a Linux. For that, you need a hypervisor. Base anyway, anyways, you have laptop, hypervisor, VM using VirtualBox. Understood, all of you? Clear? Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so the question is, how do we install the VirtualBox then? I don't think so. I should teach you all this stuff. It will get it done automatically. So here, just go to the VirtualBox, download, and here you will do that yourself also. That's not a great thing. So I'll not waste time. This 7 version is available and done. So this you just
Um,
next and done. Install this VirtualBox. Okay. So if you download this, you can install this for Windows. This for Mac. I don't know. Some of you must be using Mac also, and you can install on Linux also here. Solidities and all is out of discussion. So I think most of you will have Windows. Download this MSI file, okay, exe file, and then install it. Okay. So once you install it, VirtualBox, here it is. Then after that, you will open up like this, VirtualBox. See, Oracle Virtual. So this is a kind of UI will have it. So mine is a little older, I guess, but that's okay. You see, these are the virtual machines in my laptop. So one virtual machine for Artifactory, New Relic, Grafana, Datadog, Docker, Chef, template, all this stuff like that. Okay, so far so good. Now can I create a virtual machines now?
but Rajesh, this is a type 2, I guess, because we have installed over OS, right? So not type 1, bare metal.
Huh. Type 1 means, I mean, I don't understand type 1, but
Okay.
physical server, virtual server, simple. So right now, physical server, I'm showing you my screen. That's my laptop. On top of that, I'm installing virtual server using VirtualBox.
On top of but OS.
Top of OS. This is the one I'm doing. I need a
Okay. So type
hypervisor.
2.
Yeah.
Okay. Type 2. Yeah.
Okay. So guys, when you install operating system, you need a disk. A disk has certain image of kernel and all. So when you go for creating a VM, the VM, which you need an image. So in AWS also we need an image. We call it IAM, and in Azure also we need an image. We call it image itself. And here, which operating system you want? So we'll go for CentOS. For our training, we are using CentOS 7. Let's go for 8 actually this batch. Yeah, 8. For Ubuntu 22. Okay. So these are the operating system. We can use it. 8 and 22. Now these are the operating system. So how do we download this image from this? So I'll not do anything great. Just go to Google, and here I will say just a second, let me make it default. Just I don't have that option actually. Okay, I'll do that later. Okay, so here what I wanted to do that I wanted to download CentOS 7 or 8. Okay, so just go to the Google and download CentOS 8. Okay, here, see here. So now this is 7 I guess. Okay, and 7 here you can download this RPM files or click on this the 7, and you can go for the 8 also. Click on the download button. 8 is not available for download right now. I'll have to find the different locations. So you see here, this is the place where you can download mirrors. Okay, now next thing you can do is download Ubuntu 22, whatever it is.
Rajesh, sorry. Susmita, can you just go on mute? We are getting some noise.
Yeah.
Sorry,
So
Rajesh.
here you can download the here. So 22. So there is a desktop edition. Desktop edition means UI you will get it. Don't go for it. Server edition you can go for it. Here, download. So it'll be 4 GB, 5 GB files and all. So download this. Okay. So first thing what you did, install the VirtualBox exe file. Second thing what you did, download the image. That's all. Third thing what you'll do, so I have downloaded it already in order to save time. So here you see image, software, and VMs. See, these are the image I actually have. Ubuntu, this is the one. CentOS 7, here you have. 2016, here I have. Windows, here I have. So it's a pretty huge file. So I have it. You can do offline with a little bit of peace of mind. Now what to do? So go to VirtualBox and create a new. Okay. This is a demo for weekend and a next. Here, how much RAM you want to give? It's up to you. Go for 2 GB, 3 GB, whatever you want to say. I think mine base is 16 GB. Okay, so make sure that you have some base high RAM. So it'll be easy. So 2 GB, 4 GB is up to you, because I'm not running any other VM. I'll go for 4 GB and create a virtual disk now. Create. Now VDI, let it be default. Now you may have some question. What is a virtual disk? What is a virtual box disk image? So you can just put it in a quick Google search. You'll get it little bit at a high level. I'm not complicating it. Next, dynamically allocated. Next, here you can decide the size of disk. 32 GB, I think is okay, and create. So VM is created here. Okay, I given a 4 GB RAM. You can see the setting button here. System 4 GB RAM. You want to have a processor, by default you get it 1 CPU. I have a 8 CPU actually. So in my system, okay. So here you can decide I okay create a 2 CPU, 3 CPU, whatever exactly. Display you can see that. Just for comfort, don't change anything right now. And okay. Okay, done. So now what to do? So I need to install the operating system inside that. So how do I do that? So this session is being recorded. You can do that. I'll share some of my tutorials also. Step by step, you'll have that. So click on this, go to the setting, go to the storage and click on here. Okay, sorry, click on the empty, remember that. And there's one CD icon you see right side, all of you. Hello.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And then here choose disk file. Click on the choose disk file, click on it. Locate that where is our ISO image. So these are the ISO image. So let's say you want to go for 1 to this, you want to go to center 7, 8 also you can download from internet. Right now I don't have it. So I'll go for this one. Okay. 20, this is 22. This is a 22, one of the latest one. Open up and click OK. That's all. So what you did, you map the ISO image for the in the boot device. So now when you start this VM, you can start, stop, pause, unpause, stop, remove, all this thing you can do that. Start it. Okay. So now I am showing you this process. Now let me tell you this process little bit irritating, but you have to get used to it. I'll teach you automation also, but you have to get used to it. So here cancel this one, and here you say try or install Ubuntu server. Yes, enter. Now it will take some time. Let it come. Okay. So now because I'm installing server edition, this command prompt will prompt you. But if you're installing the desktop version, then nice UI will be there. I hope you have installed the Windows machine in your laptop sometime in your career. So like that. So English, yes, of course, enter. And do you want to update so internet connections and all? I just want to go with a continue without warning updating. Are you able to read the font right here? I cannot increase the, by the way, all of you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So continue without updating. That's okay. Now here done keyword configuration. That's okay default. Now here you have to decide, do you want to install the minimal version of server or full version of server? So server I need a full version. So now you'll say what is the difference? Nothing, some utility will not be there in the minimal. Lots of utility will not be there in minimal, but you can install it separately, just like you buy a new phone and then install through app store so many tools like that. So I'll go for the little bit extra utility should be there because I don't want to install again and again in every demo. And done. Now here networking got assigned, so done. And now proxy address not required, done. Mirror address of APT, that's okay, done. Not changing anything. Here some configuration for the layout and stuff like that, so I'm okay with it. But done is not highlighted, so I have to use the tab button. Okay, and done. These are the file system configuration. You want to change it, you can do that, but okay for time being. Done. Now are you sure you want to continue? Tab values, continue, enter. Now what's your username you want to give? So root is the username will be there, but if you want to create a one username, so Rajesh I'll create. I keep this password simple because um, I always forget that password. New, no new. So Rajesh 123. Oh, sorry. Username Rajesh only. Password Rajesh 123. Rajesh 123. Done. Open SSH, guys. Please remember that there's a problem here. You will be frustrated if you do not focus on this. So how do we connect to the Linux? Anyone? How do we connect to Linux? All of you?
Sorry, Rajesh. Can you please speak?
How do we connect to Linux? Use protocol?
Generally, we
AR.
use SSH. SSH generally we use.
SSH, yeah. So remember that, guys. This will bring a frustration. Let me tell you, in last batch, 2 to 3 people have lost many days because of this troubleshooting. So what happens? In CentOS, OpenSSH will be installed by default, CentOS 7 or 8. That's a good thing. But in Ubuntu, you'll be prompted for it. So if you don't enable this one, then you have to go separately install OpenSSH and then connect to SSH through PuTTY or whatever it is. So that's a problem. So just check this also. Yeah. Okay. So remember this one. It will save lots of time and done. These are the software, additional software. If you want to configure it, you may say, okay, I want this one, that one. Right now, I don't need any of this. So I'll say simply done, unchecking out, let it be. And now this is installing it. So something similar, CentOS 7 also will be installed. So CentOS 7, the recording which you can find in the previous batch, I'll give you the access to LMS. So you can see over there. And right now I did it Ubuntu. Okay. So let it happen. We'll see that. Okay. Any questions in between anyone have? Any questions?
No, Rajesh. But it is just installing, and later on we have to install the. Okay, we will talk later.
Yeah, we'll have to use this. I have to connect this. I'll teach you how to connect, and then we have to use for our lab purpose. So each one of you don't um, depends on something else for the lab. Create a VMs in your in your laptop and set up your lab for any tools learning as such. No need to ask anyone. So almost done.
Rajesh, for automation, normally do we use Python scripting or shell scripting or both?
Both actually. Depends on your choice. Both way you can exceed the shell script automation. I'll teach you both in this session, in this
Okay,
batch.
thanks.
So just few minutes extra. This I cannot skip it because without this you'll not be able to get operating system. So something like a download and all, you can keep it ready, installations you can do offline, so that will help you. you know
Okay. So Rajesh, meanwhile, the installation is going on. So once it is completed, so later on we will access this machine from our physical OS or laptop.
yeah, you can access it.
Okay.
I'll show.
Okay.
Almost done. It's taking today a little longer. Should be done. Let me pause the recording unnecessarily. It will.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. So now install is complete. It should reboot in 2 seconds.
Rajesh wants to point out, like, while installing the VirtualBox 7.0.6, is the Virtual C++ is also needed to install, right?
Mm,
Sorry,
just it will throw an error, then you have to install it. But most of the Windows are installed this one actually. BC++.
it is throwing the same error from my
Let
time.
me manually start it. I'll go to this one and close, shut down, and again start it. So now VM installation has been done. Okay. And now I'll just see that verify and then I'll tell you. Ayo, come on. Okay, there's some problem in it. So again, it's asking me to install it. Okay, so I'll continue. I'll not install it again. You'll have to wait a little bit longer for doing this one. So let's say, just wait for a second. I think it's showing some message. I think, yeah, it's okay. No problem. So should be okay now. Hmm. It's installed actually. Connect. Oh, again, it's done. Rajesh, Rajesh, Rajesh. Okay, so let it happen. I am not uh, troubleshooting this one, but let's say after finishing this one, you will get some machines like this. Okay, this machines. So after this, I'll start it. This machine. Let me start. This is the machine is already created. Okay, and here it is. So I think this is sent to S7 by the way. Okay, and so what I do, I'll tell you my tricks. I install the one CentOS 7 and one Ubuntu here. And when I need a new machines, what I'll do, I'll tell you. This, let's say Ubuntu 20 is created. Right click, click on the clone. So within a second, you get a new VMs actually. So see here, clone, full clone. That's all. Now I got the new VM altogether from the one clone. So I keep a one CentOS 8 template installed and Ubuntu 22 also, and use that from that. Did you understand this tricks? So that is how I don't spend time setting up like this again and again. Make sense, all of you?
Yeah, Rajesh. So host name or name will be different. So it will default, I think, I guess, if
Yeah,
we cloning it.
yeah.
Okay.
So if you see that here, now 22 clone, where is that? See the bottom section. I don't know whether it's visual or not. You have it. Anyways, I have started my Linux here, and hopefully username is Rajesh and password is Rajesh123. Let me check. No, root Rajesh123. Yeah, so I logged in. So this is the machines which you logged in, and do whatever you want, whatever the Linux you want to learn, shell scripting you want to learn. But there's a problem here. What is the problem? So the copy paste operation is not happening on this console. This is the VM console, VirtualBox console. Okay, this is the console. So you will feel irritation actually, because everything you have to type it, and again it's not very easy also. So what do we do in this case? So you can work in this console very much. It's a server edition, only CLI option is there. But what you can do, you can connect to the putty. Okay, so I want to show you one blog, and here you type Linux SSH, and here how to log in Linux server using SSH. Again, here also you have how to log in Linux server using SSH. Let's see which is latest. Huh. So this is also latest, and this is the videos actually. Both are good. Okay. So here you have a videos for it, and here you have a tutorial for it. So how to log in Linux server. So you can work in this console also. This one, the one which I was showing you. But I just said it's very irritating. So what to do? So first you have to have SSH client. So how many clients you have? Many clients you have. Putty you have. You can use Git Bash. Super Putty you can use. MOBA, M Remote NG. So I'm using Putty sometime. MOBA also I'm using most of the time. Remote NG also I'm using. So see here, MOBA I'll show you. First I'll show you the Putty. This is the Putty. Okay. Second, M Remote NG. This is the one. Icon is on my desktop, right? You can install this software here. And third one, MOBA also. Up to you, whichever you comfortable with it. Many people are using Visual Studio Code also. Code also you'll get it. Bash. Visual Studio Code. You're able to see my screen, right? All of you?
Yeah.
See here. So here if you go and terminal, see that terminal? New terminal, downside. And this terminal you can have it a bash or just PowerShell, command line, JavaScript terminal. Many terminals you have it. It's up to you uh, to use it. Okay. So these are the tools preferred one. It's up to you. Now, how do you log into this? So for login, you need two things: username and password, which in my case I have Rajesh, root and Rajesh 123, or you need a keys, private key. So private key, PM file or PPK file. Okay. So now when you create a AWS instance, when you create a virtual machine on AWS, they'll give you key. Okay. But here I have a password. You can enable both also. Okay. You can enable username and password, disable username and password, enable only key, disable keys. All these things you can do that. But what I'm trying to say, you can log in through that. For PuTTY, you need a IP address, username and password. Okay. It's not PuTTY. For everything you need a same. Okay. So if you are using the client, command line also you can do like this: SSH root @ of it. So in this machine, in this video, you have properly defined also demo also. Okay. Now after that, PM file, how do you use it? So you can use a PM file also here, PPK file, and here see this is important. Command line, if you're using key, you can use it. So all these options are available for login. Right now I'm not complicating too much. Just put the IP address. So how do we get IP address? So let me ask VM itself. Anyone remember the command which will help me to get the IP address? All of you?
Something like net IP config something.
If config in Linux, IPA also will work. So see here,
Okay.
when I started the VM, IPA, when I did it, the network IP address, I'm not getting it. Please remember that all these challenges you will find it. You have to fix it. So network is not there. What do we do in this case? So there is one utility to enable the network. There is a one problem again. CentOS, the network, OpenSSH is installed by default, but network is not enabled. In Ubuntu, OpenSSH will not install by default, but network is enabled. It's up to you. You have to understand the concept. So how do you enable the network? So UI, just forget about it. NMTUI is a command line utility. Using that, you can enable the network. So enter, and here you see edit connection, activate a connection. So activate. Done. I just did it. Okay. Here. Now, one thing I would like to tell you, please focus on this statement. When you click inside the VM, this area, then you'll not be able to click outside. So how to come out of it? So from the right side keyword which you have, you can say Alt Control and you can come out of it like this. Okay. So always remember that. Okay. So I have activated it and get IP address. Clear the screen. IPA. What is my IP address? Can you please read it, anyone? Anyone?
Yeah, 2.15/24.
No, no. My IP address is something else.
Okay,
Many
fine.
people will. I'm asking you to read it. Why? Because many people will send me message on the WhatsApp saying that, hey, Rajesh, I'm connecting to this IP address, but it's not connecting. Tell me what is IP address? All of you?
This
That
is
It's
screen is
starting with
very
an.
small and it's blurred, Rajesh, actually.
Okay. So for that, in case, I'll read it. 10.0.2.15. Can you locate it?
yeah, /24.
Yeah. So that's your IP address. But guys, you know what? Let me ping first whether you will be able to access the server or not. So let me ping from my host machine. This is my host machine. So ping 10.0.2, okay, dot 2 and dot 15. Enter. It's not pinging. That means I cannot be able, I'll not be able to connect it. What do we do in this case? So here what is happening, understand this, the VM, the network which you got it is a NAT network. Look at this. Very important topics. I'm covering only important topics. If you where you get stuck, I know that. Download and install and all you can do that yourself. This VM setting. Go to the networking, see the NAT. So NAT, there's a multiple drivers available. One of the driver is NAT. So NAT, you cannot access from the host machine the IP address. So there is a way to access it, but I'm not promoting right now because it'll get too much of complicated. So what I will ask you, instead of NAT, you'll go and attach to the bridge. Please remember bridge and click OK. So now I'll say, Rajesh, what is the bridge? Let me explain it to you. Simple way. So you, you can read more about this networking. So this is your home, and home, all of your network is coming from this router, which is I think Jio or Airtel you must be using, and if you're in India, okay, router. And you have connected to your mobile where you play Instagram, and then laptop also. Correct now? So
Yes.
now this is a VM actually. So what will happen when you choose the NAT, and this is the VirtualBox, okay? This is the VirtualBox. So when you use a NAT, this VirtualBox will create one network for you, and that all the VM which is you created will be connected to the virtual NAT. So that means base machine cannot access directly. There's a way to do that, but I'm not promoting right now. What to do? What to do? I don't want NAT. I don't want EG experience. I want to focus on Jira and all rather than troubleshooting all this stuff right now. Slowly you will get comfortable. Okay. These all are everything you should know. Okay. So what should I do? So I will do one thing. I will ask my VM to connect it to. So this is a VM. Earlier it was connecting. This is the VM. I'll ask my VM to connect to this router only. How can we do that? So this VM also, this VM also. So that way, how can you do that? So you can connect, select to bridge mode. So bridge mode is one of the driver. So now it will connect to my home internet. I have Airtel. So let me show you the IP range. You'll understand. This is my if IP config of my machines. So here, look at this. This is my IP address. And after connecting the VMs also, 192. Remember that range is 192 starting with it. So if I see the VMs also here, IPA. Now again, if I do, I don't know how many of you can read. My IP address is 192.168.1.28 of the VM. 28. This one. 192.168.1.28. This is the IP address from my VM. Did you understand, all of you?
Uh, yeah, which is created by a bridge adapter, I guess.
Bridge means your home in,
Yeah,
allocated
yeah,
by your home bridge. This
yeah.
makes sense. So your host machine is also connected to the same bridge. VM also connected to the same bridge. Though using the network through the Ethernet using this one, virtual Ethernet. Okay. So now this is the IP address now. Please use the bridge. UX will be good experience. Open, accept. First time is a fingerprinting. What is the username? Root Rajesh123. This is your machine. Do whatever you want. Copy paste is easier. Putty, something you select, and let's say password available for right side. If you click, you can paste it, or something like from outside also you can copy and paste it like this. Okay, understood guys, all of you? Hello,
Yeah, Rajesh.
any question? Okay, so what we covered so far, let me recap. So we covered what is Linux, how to install VirtualBox, and how to create a VMs, how to log into the VMs for this. So again, I would repeat one thing. Please remember that whatever the it's taking too much time, not sure why. Upgrade is taking too much time actually. It's too much time. Yeah. Okay. So leave it this one. So yeah. So guys, what I do, please remember this statement. I create a one VM of Ubuntu, which is this is a template which you see is a template of CentOS, and there's a 1 to 20. So these two template I use it for cloning it to if because for lab purpose you need so many machines. Uh, you know. So what I do, I create a clone of it, get a full clone, and then log into this machine instead of this machines. So after cloning it, you can edit and change the name. Let's say you want to install something Jira, so you can name it Jira. So you see that here, Puppet I have a different VM, Jira I have a different VM, Chef I have a different VM, Docker I have a different VM, Datadog, Grafana. So that way you can manage it. Okay, anyone have questions, doubts, or so on? So now the question I hope you will not ask, Rajesh, where to do the lab. You can create your own, manage your own. Any questions? Hello?
No, no, Rajesh, not now. But Rajesh, so after that, shall we install all the RPM packages, whatever or whichever we need,
Yeah, yeah.
something like that in the
Yum,
okay.
yum, and apt. Yeah. Okay. So next topic is Vagrant. Okay. So what is Vagrant? Why do we need it? How to install and set up? How to use it? That I will tell you. Okay. So Simran, no, that host name will not change. There is one command which is called hostnamectl. Using that you can change it. Okay. Okay, so the question from Dhana, can a ping work? Yeah, let's try. Uh, Here IP address is 28, right? Ping 192.168.1.28. That's my IP address of VM. See, it's working. Any more questions, guys?
If you would have any issues with our channel membership, you can drop an email to us at contact@devopschool.com, or you can also unsubscribe from channel membership anytime if you don't want to continue or did not like the video. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries. We will reply to them at the earliest. Thanks for watching.